Have you ever been somewhere far from home, somewhere beautiful, relaxing, until something just didn't feel right? What should have been a carefree summer vacation turned into a nightmare that I still can't forget. It happened when I was 16 in a seaside resort in Turkey. It started with something as innocent as a flower, and ended with one of the scariest encounters of my life. This is the story of the gardener's rose. It was the summer after my sophomore year, and my family had planned a trip to the Turkish coast. We stayed at a large resort overlooking the Mediterranean, complete with pools, palm trees, white sands, and all the tourist attractions you can imagine. I was excited. I'd never been abroad before and everything seemed new and beautiful. The days were filled with beach volleyball, late-night walks, and endless sunbathing. I felt free, like I belonged nowhere and everywhere at the same time. But there was one place I always avoided, the back garden near the pool where a middle-aged gardener worked silently. His name, I later learned, was Kemal. He wore a loose green uniform and always seemed to be trimming bushes or watering plants. There was something off about him. At first, I told myself I was just being paranoid. He didn't say anything or act aggressive, he just stared. Sometimes when I walked past, I'd feel his eyes burning through me. One afternoon after swimming, I took a towel and headed toward the garden path, hoping to cut across instead of walking all the way around. That's when I saw him. Kemal was crouched near a rose bush, his hands digging into the soil. But when he saw me, he stood up immediately, almost too quickly, and smiled. "Hello," he said, his accent thick but soft. "Would you like a rose?" I froze. I don't think so," I replied, forcing a smile. "It's for you," he said, holding out a long-stemmed red rose. His eyes didn't blink. His smile never faded. I have to go," I mumbled and turned away. As I walked off, I felt his gaze on my back. I didn't turn around. But I swear I could feel him watching me until I reached the lobby. That evening I couldn't shake it. Every time I stepped outside, I'd glance toward the garden path. Kemal would always be there, pruning, watering, trimming, but his eyes followed me. Once I even caught him staring at me while pretending to be absorbed in his work. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't want to ruin their vacation. But my stomach churned with dread. The next day I avoided the garden completely. On the third day things escalated. I had gone to the pool early in the morning. The resort was still quiet, with barely anyone around. After my swim, I grabbed my towel and turned toward the path by the garden. There he was. This time, he stood with a perfect rose in his hand, not freshly cut like before but arranged beautifully. The petals were deep crimson without a blemish. "Good morning," he greeted, his smile wider but his eyes darker. I don't need one," I whispered, heart racing. "It's for you," he repeated. "You are special." Something about the way he said it made the skin on my arms rise. I stepped back. "Please, leave me alone," I said, trying not to sound panicked. But he didn't step back. He just tilted his head as if listening to something only he could hear. I turned and ran toward the pool. Later that day, I told one of the resort staff members, a young man named Yusuf, that the gardener was bothering me. Yusuf's face grew serious. "Kemal," he said quietly. "He's strange," I said. Yusuf hesitated. "He's harmless if you don't talk to him," he said at last. "But he has a history. He was reported before for giving gifts to young guests." My stomach dropped. "Should I tell the manager?" I asked. Yusuf shook his head. "No. It will cause trouble, and he will be gone before anyone can stop him." That night I slept with the lights on. On the last day of our trip, I decided to stay in my room as much as possible. But fate had other plans. I stepped outside one final time in the late afternoon to take a walk along the beach. The garden path was empty. I thought it was safe. As I rounded a corner, I nearly collided with him. Kemal stood there, holding another rose, this time with small white flowers wrapped around the red bloom. His eyes locked on mine. "I saved this for you," he said softly, stepping closer. I backed away, my heart pounding. "Stay away," I whispered. But he only smiled, his lips barely moving. "Just one flower," he murmured. "Only love." That's when I screamed. My voice echoed through the quiet resort. Within seconds, other guests and staff came running. Kemal stood frozen, then backed away slowly, eyes still fixed on me. A manager quickly escorted him out, and security kept him away from the grounds after that. I never saw him again. The rest of the vacation felt surreal, as if everything around me was too bright or too loud. I kept replaying his eyes in my mind, empty yet hungry. Back home, I told my parents what happened. They were shocked and angry. But they were also relieved that I got away safely. Even now, years later, when I see a rose, I remember that summer in Turkey. The way something as innocent as a flower could mask something so frightening. That was my story, the terrifying encounter with the gardener and his rose. It's a reminder that sometimes danger doesn't wear a mask of hatred or violence. Sometimes it smiles at you, offers you beauty, and waits until you're vulnerable. If you've ever had a creepy experience while traveling or even close to home, share it in the comments below. And if you found this story chilling, hit that like button and subscribe for more true horror experiences from around the world. Stay safe, trust your instincts, and always remember, not all roses are meant to be picked.